Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talladega Superspeedway, host of tonight's action for MMS Money Racing. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a little while since I've had the chance to watch these guys go at it, and I am excited for tonight. Great track and car combo. We're back in the trucks here tonight. So without any further ado, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole here tonight in the number 75 truck. How about Nick Seipel putting in a flying lap at a 54.8. He will start alongside the outside pole of Matt Lee in the number 35 truck, but he'll be running, I believe, the number 44 here tonight. Different look for Matt Lee. How about back in the third spot? It's going to be Alex Hill alongside his Nightmare Esports teammate, Cody Nagels. Brian Hennings and Chris Walker will start back in row 3. Nathan Harper in the 7 machine starts in the 7th spot. Richard Elliott in the 02 back in 8th. Trevor Oswald for the Jack Shack starts in 9th, and it's Asher Little who will round out your top 10. Back in 11th here tonight, it'll be Jared Haynes starting in the 12th spot outside of row 6th. That'll be Stephen Miles. Back at 13th, Cody Reed with Sean Corbett to his outside in 14th. Then you've got Chris Melton for R&R. He'll start 15th tonight with Ken McCullough Jr., series owner, and McCullough Motorsports driver in that 16th spot. Freddie Bosna is back in 17th with the Canadian driver Kyler Wynn back in 18th. Nolan Miles will start 19th here tonight, and it's Michael Barksdale rounding out the top 20. Hunter Hastings starts back in 21st. It's going to be Steve Wayne in 22nd. Garrett Caswell back in 23rd. Chris Hibbler starts 24th here tonight. Quentin Steinbach and Ben Summerford start back in row 13. Sterling Thess in 27th with Cameron Hackett 28th. Art Greco 29th, and Joshua McCullough rounding out your top 30. Now, the race tonight was capped at 31 drivers, so as things stand, Christopher McCullough, in theory, should be the last truck starting this race. Now, we'll go back to the back of the field just to verify that that is the case. Although, as it stands right now, I'm still seeing a few trucks on track here. Looks like starting 32nd, Joey Allen. Starting back in 33rd, Joey Galati. Got James Wagner in 34th. Mark Vondell, 35th. Ambrose Kniebel back in at 36th. He's not being scored on the racetrack. So, as of right now, showing 35 trucks to start this race. And with that, let's get into your race info breakdown. Again, we're in the trucks here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway, a 2.65 mile superspeedway oval with 30+ degrees of banking in the corners and long straightaways that allow for a whole bunch of pushing and shoving. 55 laps is the distance that will run here tonight at 50% fuel. These guys have unlimited tires. They do have that one fast repair in their back pocket here tonight. Fixed setups as always, and 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Weather outside, 80 degrees, 20% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds at 2 miles an hour. But notice that track temperature, 137 degrees to start this race out with. That is scorching hot. That means that that third lane is going to be really, really viable here tonight. But it also means you're going to have to keep a close eye on your temps, because it's going to be easy to get these trucks hot when you're pushing in the draft. All right, well, here we go. Field in the 2x2 set formation for the initial start here tonight, as the iRacing.com pace car going to drop below that double yellow line and make the left turn for the first time. Well, the race was capped out here tonight, so we have a sold-out field. That means we have got some good payouts on the line. Saturday Night Lights, who wants to get the prize payout and the win here tonight? Let's find out. Into the restart zone we go. Green flag is in the air. We are underway at Talladega. Field works their way down the Alabama gang back straightaway for the first time here tonight, and up front, leading the charge is Nick Seipel in the 75 truck, qualified on that pole position in his Ford F-150, but the outside still trying to hold relatively strong early. You've got Matt Lee leading the top, getting pushed right now by the 6 of Cody Nagels, and I'm honestly surprised that this outside hasn't gotten moving even quicker than it's already trying to. Now Matt Lee looks like he's going to start to make that surge. But, I mean, you know, with the track temp this hot, this is kind of what we're expecting, is that this outside line is going to be cycling drivers to the front pretty much all of the night. And, again, notice that weather and that track temp on the right side of your screen, 137. Look at the speeds, though, that these guys are hitting in these trucks, about 190 miles an hour through the corner. And as they get onto the straight here to start to really push and shove, those speeds are going to approach probably right around 195 miles an hour as they work towards and into turn 3. Matt Lee still trying to get clear to the bottom. No luck yet, but that outside continues to push, and eventually, you know, something's going to have to give. They'll prevail. It's just a matter of when. But right now, Alex Hill doing a great job of managing his temps on the bottom. Still no third lane to develop yet. And just as I say that, they're going to try to get it going now. Up top, leading the charge for this third lane, it's going to be the 24 truck trying to make something happen here. That 24 machine just behind Ken McCullough Jr. I believe that is either Nathan Harper or Chris Walker. See exactly who that is. See if we can zoom in just a little bit more. And again, we've got a stacked field here tonight. A couple guys running some different paint schemes. Nathan Harper actually a few spots back. That's Stephen Miles in the 24 scheme. He's got the Wendell Scott sponsorship on the front. nose of his Chevy Silverado. Steven Miles right now already has himself up 9 positions from where he started this race at, and 3 wide. You want it, you got it. Here we go. Steven Miles trying to draw even with his former teammate Cody Nagels on the outside. Lee was finally able to get clear to the bottom, and he took it. And you got to think Cody Nagels was saying thank God for that, because he has got to be hot right now with all the pushing that he's done in that number 6 truck. As they cross the line, already 5 laps in the books here tonight, and still 3x3 up front. The further back you go, the more intense it gets. The O2 Richard Elliott trying to make his way up here. You got Jared Haynes for the Jack Shack. 4th truck in line on the bottom. And it single files out from there. We've got a few trucks that are hanging off the lead pack right now, but not by much. Just a couple guys taking it easy here early. And that's actually the 00 of Michael Barksdale, who currently leads. I don't want to call it a second group because they're still in touch with the leaders, but definitely some of the guys staying conservative. Chris Hibbler, Steve Wayne, 2 of the drivers that I have not had the opportunity to broadcast yet. Ben Summerford, another one, but doing a good job just keeping things clean, keeping it conservative early. And then Joshua McCullough is the last one in that draft. Then you've got Cameron Hackett, Joey Allen. These 2 trucks are off the leaders. James Wagner and Chris Melton, 2 of the R&R teammates, also off of the lead draft right now. And then you've got, well, those 2 rounding out the field as they stand for the moment. Talk a little bit more about these guys, I'm sure, at some point, if they can get a caution and get grouped back up. And 3 wide, normally we'd be talking about a caution, very likely, but these guys look pretty controlled up here. It's chaotic, but controlled chaos at that. Ken McCullough Jr. doing a great job keeping that 24 as close to the front as he can. But now Matt Lee jumps up. That's going to cycle this inside temperature-wise. And Cody Nagels has fresh temps to push. 3rd lane's going to really start to lose some ground now as they work off the banking on turn number 4. But here comes some help from a few of the additional Money Racing veterans. Christopher McCullough going to join up with his teammate Ken McCullough Jr. That makes it a 3-truck, now a 4-truck push on the 3rd lane as here comes Kyler Wynn in the 82. The 25 trying to get connected. They are still 3 wide. I mean, if this was the ideal product these guys wanted to put on here tonight, then clearly the track temp was the name of the game. But I'm just shocked at how dominant this inside's been. Obviously, Matt Lee, a big part of this. Him and Cody Nagels and Nick Seipel, for that matter, all doing a great job of cycling this bottom and middle lane so that the 3rd really can't seem to make up much ground. As Freddie Bosna is back here in the 51. A little bit of a different looking paint scheme for Freddie here tonight. Trying to see if he can find his way to the front. Now, again, I mentioned in the race info, these guys have 50% fuel. Fuel-wise, 50% in these trucks takes you probably somewhere to right around lap, I'd say 18 to 20 is that general window. So they're going to have to make at least 1 stop, potentially 2, unless, of course, we get a caution. Then that completely changes that strategy play up. But as of right now, 7 of 55 laps in the books. Getting close to about halfway through this first fuel run. And it's still all clean to note so far. No yellows. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you joining us. You are watching MMS Money Racing on PGR eSports here on a Saturday night. Alex Hill, you see him duck to the inside right there in the 77, just looking for some air. It's so tough to cool off in these trucks when you're doing this much pushing. And Nick Seipel really can't go up to leave Alex any room. So he kind of just has to leave it up to Alex to search for some clean air when he can get it and try to bring those temps down just a little bit. But you wonder if finally the inside's going to start to stall. The answer is yes, it does. Will the middle stall as well? No. Matt Lee trying to decide where he wants to go. Stevens going to be able to bully him down just enough to get that spot. But oh no, Nagels decides to split. They're going to put the 24 4 wide as they work into turn 1. Now there's some contact. Steven tries to get in line. It won't work. Huge hit for the 25. Vondell slides down. Caution is going to come out as the 77 of Steve Wayne gets collected. First incident of the night on lap number 8. And as soon as they got 4 wide, you knew that there was the risk of this. And lucky, though, that this wasn't a whole lot worse. It certainly could have been. Let's go back and take a look at it here and show you exactly how it unfolded. So it all starts as they're getting ready to go into the corner now. This was kind of one of those games of chicken up front that really started this between Matt Lee and Steven Miles. It was really, really close for Steven on if he was going to be able to get clear here of Matt Lee. Once he doesn't, Matt Lee kind of hesitates down, and so Steven decides, okay, well, maybe I can, we can kind of play a little bit of bully ball here. Doesn't actually get into him. Again, it's just more so a game of who's going to give first, and it seems like Matt Lee decides to give here. Watch this. You see Steven Miles on the 24 up top, getting pushed by Ken. Close. Matt Lee initially drops down to split him. Steven commits. And then right as Cody gets there, Cody decides to split him 4 wide coming out of the tri-oval. And then as they approach turn 1 here, watch how things start to really tighten up. You see Steven in that third lane, and just below him, boy, he really gets pinched right there. You see the top starting to come down, but it's really the bottom that starts to come up here a little bit. One of the drivers in the Night Shack paint scheme here. See if we can figure out exactly who this was. That's Chris Walker. And watch what Chris doesn't actually, I don't think Chris ever hits him here, but he certainly does creep up the track enough to, you assume, either maybe spook Steven just a little bit or potentially cause a little bit of netcode that sends him up the track. Watch it again from the chopper view. There you see Walker get up the track right there. And then Steven keeps it together there, but now I don't know if he's just a little out of shape or what the deal is, but comes back down into Walker. The 25 comes down into him, and then eventually the 25 just goes straight back up into the wall after hitting Steven. And then the wreck's going to really start to develop from here. By the way, the 25 is Sterling Thess. And you see all the drivers on the bottom getting collected. Sean Corbett, Mark Von Dell, and then the 77 of Steve Wayne and Kyler Wynn. Also involved kind of in the back end of this one. We'll back that up again and play at full speed for you now. Let's watch the 25, some contact. And then bam, hard hit that right front into the outside safer barrier. And then Steve Wayne going to go up the track and take a pretty good shot as well. To the front nose and the right side of his Ford F-150. The 00 Michael Barksdale was able to jump down to the bottom, so he didn't have to worry about any further contact. But it's just tough. I mean, 4 wide here is doable, but we've seen it before, but it's really, really tight quarters racing. And, when you're not really expecting to be 4 wide, it seems like that's always when it's more likely the guys get into an accident. And that's a really tough break right there for the drivers involved. The ones that really got the brunt of this were the ones that really didn't even cause it. You did see Stephen Miles right there at the end. Looked like he may have got shot up, but I think he kept it off the outside wall. It's a heck of a job if he did. No, well, take that back. There's pretty heavy contact on the right front for him. So Stephen Miles is going to have to go in potentially for some repairs as well. Give you one more view of this here from the onboard view of Kyler Wynn before we point things back to the live feed and see exactly how the top 5 are running. Not much Kyler can do there. He does a pretty good job saving the truck from, obviously things being any worse right there, but still any contact, knowing that you got that one fast repair, it's, a little bit helpful, but certainly don't want to have to go into fixed damage this early. So an early caution here in the first 10 laps is going to give us a chance for our first restart of the night. Up front leading the way is still your pole sitter, and that is Nick Seipel in the 75. Alex Hill currently sitting in second in that number 77. Nightmare Esports Chevy Silverado. Cody Nagel's third. We've got Nathan Harper in fourth. Matt Lee fifth. Chris Walker back in sixth. Ken McCullough Jr. in seventh. Jared Haynes eighth. Christopher McCullough in ninth. And Trevor Oswernoth rounding out your top 10. Now, a couple guys sitting below the apron right there. I was wondering if anybody was going to decide to come in and top off here, and it looks like at least through about your top 20. Nobody making that decision just yet. Even further back, the 24 miles. And Joey Galati, looks like those two are going to go down. Wonder if Steven's going in for some additional repairs or if he's just going to top off on fuel right here. Gotta assume he's probably just going to take some fuels. It looks like that right front doesn't look too bad, at least upon visual inspection. I think he's going to be okay. Not sure if he used a fast repair or just got whatever damage he had fixed optionally. And either way, Steven Miles going to have a lot of track position to try to gain back here over the course of these next 45 laps. So 11 laps in the books. Again, I say 45 laps as it looks like we'll actually have about 44 laps to go when we get the green flag right here. And so that changes the pit strategy up at least a little bit. I think it's still, well, maybe it doesn't. It's still really close on if you can make this on a one-stop. If you can make it 20 laps, you're only going to be able to make it to 40 laps total. If you make 22 laps, now you're close to that fuel window. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys decide to kind of single file up and just save some fuel, or if they get right back to the 3 wide action that we just saw and stay aggressive, even though it is still early in the going. Well, a couple people in the chat tonight. Jimmy Crow, good to see you. Tanya Cook says, let's go. Garrett, Roughneck Racing Network, good to see you in here as well. And Jimmy says they tried. Yeah, they certainly did. 4 wide did not work out this time around. We'll see if they can try it again at some point in this race. By the way, speaking of Roughneck Racing Network, if you're looking for a couple of really good series to join right now, They've got a Wednesday Superspeedway series with well over, I think it's well over $3,000. Well, actually right now, before the championship payouts all go in, it's well over $2,000 worth of championship points payouts, and that excludes the weekly payouts. There's a ton of money in that series. Great owners in both James Wagner and I believe Chris Melton helping run that series as well. All the work the R&R guys do is great. Of course, James Wagner's Welding, a big part of the Money Racing community, and sponsoring both their series and multiple others. So a big shout out to them. In fact, you see the Wagner's Welding paint scheme there on the side of Cody Nagel's truck. And also, they've got a Friday night series that is a mix of tracks, not just super speedways. So if you're interested in something like that and still want the money racing aspect, check out their Friday series. No pros allowed in that one. All right, here we go. Green flag back in the air at Talladega, and it's a good restart for the 75 Disciple. Him and Nagels were bumper to bumper right out of the gate. Cody trying to get that 75 clear enough to where he can maybe sneak out of line and jump up himself, get lined up with the teammate up top, the 77 of Alex Hill. He's not going to be able to do it this time as they work off the banking down the straightaway. And remember, these trucks take about 3/4 of a lap to get up to full pace. And so keeping that in mind, you're really not going to see that third lane develop, at least if we're not at the end of the race. And so probably a couple laps go by, but look how many people jump to the inside this time around. I mean, everybody single filing down to the bottom, and not a lot of drivers seem to want to race. I think a lot of people wanting to save fuel. How about Art Greco back in the field tonight? He's up 13, make it now 14 positions from where he started this race at, running just behind Quentin Steinbach in that number 22 machine. Few spots up. See that 17 machine? I believe that's Garrett Caswell. Sure enough, it is the driver out of Shelbyville, Tennessee. He's got the T&J bar and grill scheme on. And right now, he is the last truck on that outside line. So they're 2x2 for probably about 6-7 rows deep. And, well, make it 6 now as the 17 is going to jump to the inside. Michael Barksdale, though, leading a second group up top. Looks like he's got the 25 with him in that line. We'll see if they can get back to the front. I believe Cody Reed is hanging around in that group, the 30 of James Wagner. And how about Chris Melton trying to make his way back up to the front as well. James Wagner, we'll hop on a few different views for him here for just a moment. There's the rear chase view. And, oh, Melton actually steps out of line there. I'm not sure if he read a checkup coming or just decided to try to split. Well, considering how quick he checked up, I think there might have been a pretty big checkup right there on the outside. Chris Melton deciding to jump out to avoid it. But here goes Kyler Wynn. Thinking about going to that third lane. He won't go just yet. Is he going to commit with the 25? He will not. So Cody Reed going to get split out here. He'll have to fall a few spots to the back as Melton continues to get loose. But back up front, the 77 of Alex Hill. Now leading the outside, it's Nagels, who is now leading the inside. So those two able to now get themselves potentially lined up down the back stretches. Whoa, Alex with a big move. Nagels has to slam on the brakes. It's going to check them all up out back. And now one around. That's the 45 of Sean Corbett going for a ride here through the grass as they work into turn 3. Corbett, massive save as he comes back on to the asphalt. But, oh, he's finally going to spin it there as he had to jerk the wheel left one more time to keep from going up into traffic. What a save by Sean Corbett, but what a tough break at the same time. He is going to lose the draft, obviously lost all of his track position, and it's all going to start with this checkup up front. Let's go back and look at it here one or two times before we go back live. Watch it first from the aerial view. Alex is trying to get clear of his teammate Nagels, and, well, maybe right as he goes to turn down, he's a little bit offset with Nick Seipel. That maybe turns him a little bit more dramatically than he was expecting. You see how Seipel's a little bit offset to the right. You wonder if that maybe turned Alex more than he was expecting. Alex saves it, but to do so, Nagels has to check up a little bit. Actually, I should say gets checked up. And then you see that stack up go all the way to the back here until eventually it gets to where Sean Corbett was running, and eventually he's going to get turned. Let's see how. Actually get some contact out back from, looks like the 6th truck. And that gets Corbett turned out of line. Watch this ride here. And the job that he does holding on to this truck. And even as he starts to slide back up initially, you think he's got it gathered up. And then right as he's about to get back on the track here, another truck and actually loops it around. Tough break right there for Sean Corbett. All right, back live up front. Nick Seipel currently leading the race. 3 wide, though, as Nagel's stuck in the middle. And up top, big run for the 23 of Chris Walker. He's going to jump to the middle, and now he'll clear all the way down to the bottom. What a move from the 23. Chris Walker now up a handful of spots from where he started this race at and leading the way here at Talladega. He'll jump back up to the middle to get a push here from the 6 of Nagels up top. Ken McCullough Jr. leading the line and trying to grab the lead from McCullough Motorsports. Kyler Wynn, Christopher McCullough, both lined up behind him, trying to continue to push him to the front. 27. Boy, that was interesting. Looked like maybe the 27 considered a little bit of 4 wide right there. Thought better of it. Man, that could have gotten really, really dicey, as trying to figure out exactly who that was. Was that Garrett Caswell? No, it wasn't. It's actually a few more spots back. Joshua McCullough, he's in a different looking scheme here tonight, and that's exactly who that is. Joshua McCullough switching numbers and paint schemes, getting locked up with a few of his McCullough Motorsports teammates on that third line. By the way, when we went back green, it was about 11, actually 12 laps complete. You do the math, about 20 laps from there takes us to right around lap 32. If you try to stretch it just a little bit further, that might be enough to try to make it to the finish. So this will be interesting to see how far these guys can go on fuel. But based off the way they're racing, makes me think that there's really not any fuel strategy in play right now. You would think that if they felt like it was close, they'd be saving. If they felt like there's no way they can make it, they'd be doing exactly what they're doing. Going 3 wide for about 5 rows deep. And now the 23, Chris Walker clears up. Seipel puts himself in an odd spot. Had to jump down. Lee has to get on the brakes. And that was almost another caution right there. Seipel almost got himself turned off the nose of Matt Lee as they came off at turn 2. I think he got a little bit of tunnel vision there trying to follow Chris Walker up the track. But he was able to catch himself just in time. Chris Walker with the best view in the house right now, but also one of the most stressful ones is you got to try to manage both lanes. Walker doing a pretty good job of it, though, right now, as he now moves up to that middle line in front of the 6 and Eagles. The 03 Ken McCullough Jr. up top. Getting a push here from Kyler Wynn, and I'm telling you, it still looks to me like Joshua McCullough has been taking a few peeks here at 4 wide, but I'm assuming he's just ducking out for a little bit of air. Joey Allen, Michael Barksdale, and the 25 of Sterling Fest, who was actually involved in that first caution of the night, have now also made their way back up towards the front of this pack. I say front of the pack, rather made their way back up to this pack. Still a little bit of a ways to go, though. There's James Wagner, but back up front. 3 wide again for the lead. Ken McCullough Jr. and Kyler Wynn have been pushing for all it's worth, but have just not quite been able to get clear of this middle of this inside line just yet. When we cross the line this time, it'll be 20 of 55 laps complete. By the way, track temp, you see it there, still extremely hot. In fact, up a degree from where we started this race at. Now 138. The truck's still running in this pack, all at over 190 miles an hour as they cross the start-finish line. The 23, Chris Walker, continues to do pretty much as good of a job as he possibly can here at managing the bottom and the middle lanes to prevent Ken McCullough Jr. from getting clear. Kyler Wynn tries to cool down again, and as he does so, he ducks back in line, gives Ken McCullough Jr. another push onto the backstretch. But if those two can't get locked up for a long enough period, they're just not quite going to be able to get clear. Something's going to have to either cycle, or the middle or the bottom is going to have to fade out sooner or later. But so far, that has not happened. And so all the energy continues to stay with that bottom and middle line. Chris Walker right back to the top. Nagels is going to continue, to work with him. 75 of Seipel on the bottom, getting pushed by the 44 of Matt Lee. How about the job that Jared Haynes is doing right now on the bottom? One of the Jack Shack drivers. Currently has himself up 5 spots where he started this race at. And he's in a pretty comfortable spot. Usually once you get about 4 or 5 cars or more deep in a line, that's when you start to feel like you're getting buried. Is now Nathan Harper going to get clearance? So this might be the cycle that this third lane needed. He jumped out right as Ken McCullough Jr. was starting to get a run back. And now Nagels is going to take it as well. So all of a sudden, multiple trucks have jumped out. Hold your breath. We're going to go 4 wide here into turn 3. Kyler Wynn going to jump to the top. Will Christopher McCullough stay with him? Nathan Harper gave it a look. Christopher McCullough not sure where he wants to go. And I think Chris here is going to try to give Kyler a chance to drop back down, or will he stay up top? That is the big question. Chris is going to stay up top. So the 82 and the 04 are going to try to see if they can get this 4th lane rolling right now as they work through the tri-oval. This is going to get really dicey here as they get down into the corner. Still 2 trucks, 4 wide. Now going to draw just about even with the leaders here. Ken McCullough Jr. Some contact trouble. The 7 of Harper gets turned. He goes up. Christopher McCullough up on the safer barrier as more trucks pile in. The 88 of Art Greco's in it. And Christopher McCullough is going to come across the track, down the banking, and eventually back on all 4 tires. Big incident for Christopher McCullough. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to get that truck back rolling, and he's not. So your second caution of the night comes close to the halfway point in this race, and in a relatively similar spot, maybe a little bit later than the last one, but still a result of 4 wide here, and I think Harper's going to catch a little bit of netcode off of Melton. Or is it going to be some physical contact right there is what catches the 7 of Harper and eventually turns him around. You saw how close to 52 of Melton was running. In fact, I think he washes up a little bit as they get into the corner. Let's go watch this from the chopper view first. All right, so you see Chris Melton in the 52 on that second lane here, and as they get into the corner, his right sides are on that white line. He's definitely creeping up here a little bit. And then he's going to creep up a little bit more. And now he's really washed up. In fact, gets into Ken McCullough Jr. and then there's not contact. Boy, it's still really, really tight. In fact, I don't think they're quite hitting each other. Right there might have been, but at this point, he's caught the 7 in the left rear with a little bit of netcode, and that's going to turn Nathan Harper right down the track. Nothing he can do. It happens so quick. And as he slides back up, collects the 04 of Christopher McCullough. Michael Barksdale nowhere to go. Joey Allen piles in, and then as he goes down the track, collects Joshua McCullough in the 27 and the 51 of Freddie Bosnes as well, who also had nowhere to go. But this was really a wild wreck, more so for Christopher McCullough than anybody else. And he definitely arguably got the worst damage out of this. Watch it again here in slow motion. See the contact, and as he goes up, Christopher McCullough gets wedged against the wall, and then truck just lifts right up, gets into the catch fence, and then rides in the air along the safer barrier on top of Michael Barksdale before eventually coming back down, and then goes for the long dreaded slide here down the banking off the corner. And right at the last second here, notice that truck's going to catch and flips back over. Unfortunately for Chris here, damage must have been enough for him to feel like he was done as he ultimately comes to a halt and decides to tow that car. Now, we saw Freddie Bosnes here with some pretty significant contact as well. I want to go hop on his onboard view for this one and see what it looked like from his angle. Take a look and take a listen. Sees the wreck, tries to get low, and then it's ultimately not really anywhere to go at the last second. The driver out of Miami, Florida. Give you 1 or 2 more angles of this here before we go back live, just to show you how many cars in total this one collected. Watch it from the blimp cam. And so this will go down as probably about a 4 to 5 truck wreck. I take that back, make it probably a 5 to 7 truck wreck. Tough break for Art Greco as well, who had a pretty good run going, but gets caught up in this one as an innocent bystander. One more view of this here from our turn 2 cam before we go back live. So your second incident of the night, and the biggest one to note so far, as we turn our attention back to the front, Alex Hill and Nick Seipel being scored as your front 2. And then it's Chris Walker alongside Cody Nagels in row 2. Trevor Osronoff, Matt Lee, row 3. Kyler Wynn and Chris Melton, row 4. Asher Littleback in 9th, and Ken McCullough Jr. rounding out your top 10. So again, 24 of 55 laps in the books. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you joining us. And if you've been sticking around, we appreciate you hanging with us here on PGR eSports. Now, we're not quite at the halfway point, but we're getting mighty close. There is still a green flag pit stop in play, but any question of 2 green flag stops, or even, well, maybe 2 under caution, depending on what you take, but 2 green flag pit stops is certainly out of the question now, as it's not going to leave enough laps to have to worry about that. 1 stop will get you there on fuel, and obviously tires not going to be any major concern. As we do get ready to get back to green flag racing, I want to take this opportunity to show you the race flyer for tonight, give you an idea of what the payouts are looking like. This was based off of 31 drivers. I think they ended up taking a few more, so these payouts either going to go up just a little bit, or there might be a few more positions or some sort of bonus paid out. But either way, the idea here, $175 to first, $150 to second, $125 to third, $100 to fourth, $90 to fifth, and $75 to sixth. By the way, if you're interested in hopping in on one of the McCullough Motorsports Money Racing races, all you got to do is check the description in the link to the video, and you will be able to join the Discord through that link and get yourself in one of these money races. These guys usually race a lot on Saturdays, and sometimes you'll catch them on other days of the week, and then they have their Big Dog, Little Dog series on Sunday night, so you can do that race as well. And by the way, before I forget, happy Easter to everybody. I know it is tomorrow, but before I forget to mention it at the end of the broadcast, Wishing a happy Easter to anyone. As good to see Venom Chase in the chat. I believe that's Chase Mistretta. Carl Haynes, good to see you. Says another great broadcast job. Thank you, Carl. It says slap that like button. Yeah, you got that right. Give us a little bit of help here. If nothing else, certainly let us know that you're enjoying the video. All right, lights are off. Man, I'm trying to decide who I would have as a favorite here tonight. Ozronaut, by the way, has made his way back towards the front of the field now. No surprise there. But, I mean, you look at a track like this, and, you know, this is one of those races where it's not like the ARCA cars, it's not like the next gens. This is a race that you win by staying up front and holding track position. Because you can't just jump out and roll your way to the front. The runs aren't constantly there. It's kind of a slow, methodical switching of lanes, if you will, up front that determines who wins this race and which lines roll. You can't jump from the back and go to the front without a ton of help in these trucks, so I think the guys that are kind of towards the front now are going to be the favorites at the end of this one. But we've been surprised before, so you never know. We're getting ready to find out. In fact, we are going to be just 2 laps away from that halfway point. 2 to 3, if you will. Nonetheless, here we go. Back into the Geico restart zone. And green flag in the air here at Talladega after 2 cautions. We are back under green flag conditions. Great restart for the front 4. Nagel's going to try to lock up with his teammate on the bottom. Chris Walker going to try to lock onto the rear bumper of Nick Seipel. And this is going to be all about which lane is able to get the run first, because it's still a 2 versus 2 tandem. Walker breaks up, and now the 89 Ozronaut chooses to go to the top lane. Oh, man, Walker just able to slot in front of the teammate of Trevor Ozronaut, and now it's going to be the outside that rolls. They'll get 2 clear. Nagels and Hill drop slow as trouble out back for just a second. As Kyler Wynn and Asher Little have to catch it. They do just that. And we keep it nice and clean up front. Still 2x2 out back. Everybody trying to get some momentum and get this pack tightened back up. See, Christopher McCullough, after being involved in that last incident, was able to take his fast repair and at least hang with the pack. The big concern here is going to be obviously the trucks that are a lap down. Now, as it stands right now, Sean Corbett being scored a lap down. Chris Melton in the pits. Now, I'm not sure if he had to serve a penalty. I would assume he did. And it looks like he's going to get another truck that decided to go in with him. That's Steve Wayne. Christopher McCullough, by the way, currently being scored at 2 laps down. So he's going to need some cautions here, and he's going to need them relatively quick. The inside, now the preferred lane is the outside. Not quite as much help, but Chris Walker making up that difference in numbers with the job he's doing, pushing to keep Nagels even as they work off into turn number 3. Jared Haynes trying to get a run on the outside, but he doesn't have any push from out back, so it's making his job really, really difficult right now in that number 7 machine. And that's the view out of the front cockpit, but if we look out of the gearbox, you can see Richard Elliott and a few others are getting lined up back there, but they just haven't made it to his back bumper yet, and they're going to have to get there before this lane's really going to start to make any progress. So for Jared Haynes, still up 3 spots from where he started this race at, but it's Nick Seipel who's now kind of in that controlling position as Nagels almost gets turned. They had about 4 trucks pushing there, and they finally have to all check up. And that checkup's still going out back, gets all the way to about Richard Elliott and James Wagner before everybody was eventually able to catch it. There's the 27 of Joshua McCullough. He tried to make a jump to the outside, looks like thought better of it. And they're now coming up on the 77 here of Steve Wayne, going to put him a lap down. So Steve Wayne going to join a group of drivers now that are looking for a caution. Joshua McCullough still 3 wide. Going to go 4 wide here just briefly. As he gets around that lap truck, no problem. He'll jump in line behind James Wagner. We stay 2x2, at least for the moment, here at the front. Both lanes switching momentum on who prevails. There's the 52 of Chris Melton making his way back out onto the racetrack, as he has now gone at least one, may have gone a couple laps down. As James Wagner now going to try to be the man to get this 3rd lane going. He leads the charge, and he's got some help. Joshua McCullough, Sterling Thess going to try to go with that 30 truck on the outside. Can James Wagner try to bring this line all the way to the front here? And still not quite hooked up, but Joshua McCullough able to get linked up in the corner. Remember, in these trucks, you don't have to necessarily wait just until you get onto the straightaway to push. You can push anywhere you want as long as you're square. That's why all these lines seem to kind of get gridlocked, is because everybody's comfortable with pushing anywhere you look. So you don't have to necessarily worry about one lane getting locked up and another lane fading out. But Seipel here, he did get disconnected with Nagels. Joshua McCullough almost enough momentum to get the 30 of Wagner clear, but now Alex Hill going to jump up. And that is going to hurt the progress of that 3rd lane, at least for the time being. Kyler Wynn First time that we're going to be calling his name for potentially trying to lead a lap here tonight at Talladega. On the bottom now with the 44 of Matt Lee and Asher Little. But Alex Hill says no as he jumps back down to the bottom, slams the door on that 82, and keeps things stacked up for about the first 3 to 4 rows. 30 of 55 laps now complete. As we cross the line this time, it'll officially be 25 laps remaining. They stay 3 wide, though. Further back, nobody given just yet. How about the 6 back here? Haven't had a chance to call some of these guys' name out so far here tonight, but that is Cameron Hackett. As they went 4 wide there, just briefly, Joey Galati able to get around the 7 of Jared Haynes. Joey Allen had to wash up right there as there was almost some contact. Alex Hill continues to control lines here at the front. Seipel going to give him another big push here off of the corner. Kyler Wynn still stuck to the bottom of the racetrack at the moment. And will Seipel have enough of a push to get the 77 and himself clear? No. But Alex Hill gets enough of a push to drop back down to the bottom. And for James Wagner here, you know, I know they've got 3 trucks. That's usually enough to make some progress, but that progress really just hasn't happened here. As we hop on the roll bar view, you can see that middle and bottom lane just continue to roll right past the 30 truck, trying everything he can here to get some momentum. As Bosnet's going to jump up, that might be a little bit of help here if Wagner, he's got fresh temps, could try to push somebody. It's not going to happen yet. You saw the 75 of Seipel way up there near the front, cycling some temps, as it is now officially 24 laps to go here at Talladega. So as the field stays clean here, before we get closer to the potential of that next green flag pit stop, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. MMS Money Racing hosting the trucks here tonight at the high banks. And man, while we were gone, still very intense up front in the 2x2 racing, but still no prevailing third line just yet, at least not one that's been able to make its way all the way to the front. Now, I do want to start to talk a little bit about that fuel window. We are getting close to being in that final fuel window, but it's a question of what strategy does the field go with? Do we see a split? Do we see kind of a uniform call? And when these drivers decide to make that green flag stop, I think they could stretch it pretty far here, probably all the way until we get close to the end. I mean, you figure, I think they were only probably between 7 and 9 laps short on fuel, so they can go until about 7 to 9 laps to go in this race. With 20 to go, that's only about 10 to 11 laps from now. Up front, though, still a lot of punches being thrown between some of the Nightmare Esports teammates. Alex Hill and Cody Nagels continue to try to dominate this race. Nick Seipel going to push Alex Hill right back out in front. We'll see if Alex goes up. He might have to here. Seipel could pull clear if he doesn't. And it looks like Hill will not. Seipel gets the opportunity, and he's going to take it. Further back, you see a couple trucks bobbing and weaving around here just a little bit in the middle. Now we're getting to that point in the run where tires are starting to wear out just a little bit. As, man, look at the run Wagner, Joshua McCullough have right here as they dart out of line 196 miles an hour entering turn number 1. Now the 661 of Joey Galati, you see that distance between him and the 51 of Bosnes. Usually that would hurt the third line, but McCullough has gotten tannered up with the 30 of Wagner, and they are going to make their move towards the front. They're going to bring a Cavalry 2 out back. Nathan Harper decides to jump up. Sterling Thess back there as well, trying to provide some support. Up front, though, Cody Nagels on the bottom leads Nick Seipel in the 75. You've got the 23 of Chris Walker. I don't know if it's the new paint scheme or what, but Walker has been on fire tonight. He's always had the talent, but man, the Jack Shack does not seem to have good luck here in at least the recent past. But tonight, Chris Walker, he's been up front just about any time we've called his name, and now currently sits in that second spot. Joshua McCullough and James Wagner have continued to be a two-man duo trying to work this third lane. They have not been able to get anybody else to really stick with them. You can see Harper's trying. He does have a little bit of damage there on the left door. You wonder if that's maybe affecting him here just a little bit with 18 laps to go. And by the way, in the chat, looks like the 94, or excuse me, it says 84 here. 94 Nolo is the name. Says, the guy in front of me disappeared, reappeared, and my sim broke all on lap 1. Man, that's about as tough a break as you can have. And that's, oh man, that's Nolan Milnes, and I think I pronounced it wrong earlier. And if I still pronounced it wrong, Nolan, I apologize, but that's a tough break. I know he was excited to get in here tonight. Well, Nolan, we hate to hear for you. Man, I hope to see you out on the next one, and I'm hoping I'm calling your name up front instead of seeing you in the chat out with sim issues on lap 1. We appreciate you giving us the update nonetheless. Brandon Baton's good to see you in here. Jess says happy Easter. Good to see you, Jess. As here we go, full wide around one of the lap trucks here. That's Chris Melton. Boy, that was a little bit of a sketchy moment right there, but they all hold it together. Well, I'll tell you what, the field still relatively tame, all things considered. Obviously, all heck's got to break loose at some point, but while things are still in check, how about something we haven't done in a while? A little bit of crank it up here at Talladega. Here we go. And we're going to stop the Crank It Up segment a little bit early here because we were showing that we may have had some trouble here with Chris Melton and a few others. I'm not sure if this was contact on their pit stop or a different issue. But got a report that 3 separate trucks had problems right here in the tri-oval. Let's see what happened. This was just moments ago, and oh, that's a big hit for the number 6 truck. I believe that's Cameron Hackett. Indeed it is, and then Chris Melton. Oh, man. Big hit to the inside safer barrier as well. And now we have more trouble here for Nathan Harper's pit stops. That's what this is up front. Getting into the pits here. Multiple trucks into the grass. And multiple trucks almost spin out. I'd be shocked if we don't have multiple penalties on this right here. We'll go back and look at that last incident again in just a moment. But let's get back live here to all these pit stops and all the chaos happening. As you see some of these trucks working their way back out that pit on the previous lap. But we'll see if Nick Seipel, who has that first pit box, can lead him out. He can't. In fact, he's got a penalty. Multiple trucks with penalties. Matt Lee. Looks like Alex Hill all stuck in their box. Cody Nagels. I mean, these are trucks that dominated the race that are now stuck in the pits here. As we see that final group that decided to stay out an extra lap making their stop right here. Bosnes is going to lead them in. Can they get in a little bit cleaner? Brief lockup right there from Christopher McCullough. And ooh, Stephen Miles getting in a little bit hot, but they all do get it woed up and in a little bit cleaner. So while we wait for all these groups to get back together, is now, oh man, we're showing even more trouble here. This time for James Wagner. who finds himself in the grass over here in turn 1 and 2. You wonder if this was an issue trying to get back up to speed out of the pits. Let's go back, see what happens here. We got 3 separate incidents to break down. I want to go look at this first one more time, as I don't know if it was an issue for Chris Melton or if he gets a bad push from out back. Whatever it is, he totals not only his truck, but the 6th of Cameron Hackett as well, who was, again, just an innocent bystander here. You hate to see it for him, as that is a big hit. I was trying to find the chopper view here. All right, watch this again. Oh, it is. Slight contact out back from the 77. Steve Wayne gets him down into Hackett. There's the big hit. And then it's not over here. Watch Melton as he tracks off towards the inside safer barrier. Either the throttle sticks or an issue with the brakes. Takes a big hit there. That was the first issue. Now here's that first big pit stop as that group all decides to come in together. Watch the issue they have here as everybody's trying to get woed up, and you've got a couple trucks just way too hot. Seipel gets into Matt Lee. Cody Nagels gets into Chris Walker. Trevor Osvernoth is locking up. Multiple speeding penalties, multiple unsafe pit entry penalties, all which cost a lot of good trucks that are having a good night being potentially out of this race. And then James Wagner here trying to get back up to speed. Very interesting. You see Quentin Steinbach way on the bottom. I'm not sure why he's actually down that far. Usually these guys get things sorted out as they get closer to the banking, and obviously you want to be on that banked part of the apron as you're trying to get the car back up to speed. But look at Quentin Steinbach right here. Stays on the bottom, stays on the flat, and as he does so, just eventually comes up and just clips the 30 of Wagner, gets him out of shape. He tries to save it, back up the banking, keeps it off the wall, does a nice job there, but then gets into the grass and eventually spins and makes some contact with the inside safer barrier. So a lot of tough incidents right there that has really changed the outlook of this race up front. And look at this. Top 4 are in a pack all by themselves, and you know that they're hoping that they can keep it that way. Now, the problem is there's a few bridge trucks between them and the next pack. Freddie Bosnez, who's catching a big pull right now off of Art Greco. The gap, though, between the leaders in this second group is about 2.3 seconds. So this will be interesting to see if they can close this. Remember, they got to get to about a second and a half or so to be in drafting range. So they got to do a lot of pushing here. And that 17 is going to have to stay tight. And then Jared Haynes, though, now catching this group, is going to add a little bit more momentum to this group. That may help their pace just a little bit. Kyler Wynn going to try to keep it up front. You see it right now showing him being scored in the pits. And I know that is not correct, so we're going to give SDK here just a quick refresh to see if we can get that scoring issue fixed. And so as we bring back up the scoring tower here and your logo, we're closing in on the end of this race. Again, just 11 laps to go. So things winding down in a hurry. Brandon Baton says, Happy Easter, everybody. Donalda Adams says, great broadcast, Austin. Happy Easter, everyone. Thank you, Donalda. Good to see you in here tonight. And again, I don't know what plans everybody has tomorrow, but I don't know. The Easter Bunny might be leaving quite a bit of money for a few of these guys here tonight if this race stays green. These top 4 are locked into the payout spot, so you know they're going to stay working together here until that last lap. That's when we could see some moves made. Now, Freddie Bosnez keeping close tabs on that gap between him and Ken McCullough Jr. It is closing, and it is closing quick. They've got it now down to under 2 seconds. As we'll show you that gap one more time. Notice that gap was stretching out about 3 to 5 laps ago, but over the last 2 to 3, that gap has now started to close here just a little bit. That's obviously good news, because if they get within a second and a half, which guess what? They are in drafting range, and we are getting ready to pull a whole bunch of other trucks now into the mix. It's going to go from about a 4-truck battle with everybody being guaranteed to be in the money to looks like about a 10, maybe 15-truck battle here. A couple of these trucks are not on the lead lap, but it goes all the way back to the 12th place spot of Richard Elliott that are all going to pull even with the leaders here and have a chance at it. Kyler Wynn is still your race leader. I don't know if he's got any teammates up here. If Steven Miles isn't working with him, then I don't know who is. But you know that Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. are going to jump to that outside as soon as they see the run coming. It's just going to be a matter of, does everybody stick with them, or do they get split 3 wide? And here we go. This is the move. Matt Lee to the outside. Seipel, Chris, and Ken McCullough Jr. all pull up to the outside to try to block. Matt Lee gets turned into the outside wall. Down into the pack he goes. Hard into the outside wall goes Freddie Bosnez and Matt Lee. Caution is out. And just like that, everything changes. By the way, Matt Lee here was being scored in the 23rd position. I don't even think he was on the lead lap right here. So he was hoping to potentially grab that lucky dog spot. And he's not going to get that now. He'll be stuck a lap down, and he's got a damaged truck that he's going to have to go get fixed on top of that. This is also going to send us now to a late race restart, and we know how those go. Well, let's see what happens here. This group had finally caught. Freddie Bosnez and Matt Lee had a massive run. And right as they get there, Matt Lee's going to take them up top and see how everything unfolds from there. There goes Matt Lee to the top with the run. You see Seipel and Ken McCullough Jr. jump to the top. Does somebody try to block here? It doesn't really look that way. It almost looks like, yeah, you could see that right here. Bosnez isn't on the back bumper of Matt Lee. Now he's close enough. I wonder if he's taking a little bit of air off the rear, but Lee starts to get a little bit out of shape right there as he gets to the left rear of Nick Seipel, maybe trying to grab a side draft, and then still wiggling a little bit, and eventually you see Freddie actually does tag him here in the right rear. That's what ultimately sends Lee into the wall, and you see Freddie try to get out of the throttle, but just a split second too late. Gets Matt Lee up the track, into the outside wall, and then you see Lee come back down the racetrack, clip Bosnez, and this is where the big hit's going to come along. In fact, you see that 51 truck start to lift up, but quickly sets back down, hard hit into the outside safer barrier for those two. And then I was trying to look at this here from a bit of a different angle to see if Asher Little, and I believe that was Jared Haynes, were able to escape, or if they took some damage from this. Looks like they were able to save it. Really nice job by those two trucks to hang on. Go look at this again here from a bit of a different perspective. We'll look first here from the zoomed in shot. And there's the first hit, and then there's the second one. Man, Bosnez gets wedged on the front end into that outside wall. You saw that truck start to lift. Always a interesting look as a driver. Look at that. Left two tires get off the ground, but as they get into the corner, and that banking increases, truck back on the ground. Lucky that this didn't collect a lot more, and lucky it didn't collect a lot more of your front runners. There's always risk games that you have to play as a lap truck versus if you want to get aggressive or not. Lee chose to get aggressive, and unfortunately, even though it wasn't necessarily his fault, he's got to pay the price here, kind of as a result of trying to go to the front and get that lap back. So as he slides down, brings out what I believe is your third caution of the night. Here's one more view of it from the turn one entry view. All right, so as we try to line things back up here for a restart, that's going to be, looks like probably right at 5 laps to go, assuming the lights on the pace car go off next time around. Kyler Wynn being scored as your race leader, Ken McCullough Jr. in second. Stephen Miles third with Sterling Thess in fourth, and Cody Reed currently rounding out your top 5. Well, these late race restarts, we know how crazy they are, so now's your chance. Go take a quick break, get yourself a drink, maybe some popcorn, and meet us back here before the restart for what's going to be a crazy final 5 laps. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for the restart here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. 3x3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. It'll be 5-lap shootout to decide the winner here tonight in MMS Money Racing. And if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. 40 people in the chat tonight. By the way, PGR eSports last night, I checked, hit 800 subs, so thank you all so much for that. Another big milestone, just 200 more. We'll be at that magic 1,000 mark. By the way, real quick, Jimmy Crow in the chat brings up a great point. Says these trucks looks like they've been windshield wiping around tonight, and the reason for that is exactly what he put. The weather, the track temp, 138 degrees, scorching hot, pretty much as hot as you can go. And so the grip has been a bit of an issue, and yeah, a little bit of less stable trucks in the field tonight, if you will, with that hot track temp than what we would see if, the weather was much cooler. Nonetheless, though, it is all about which lane can push and shove harder now. 5 laps to decide it. Here we go. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. Already trouble. Mark Vondel shoots up into the outside wall. He'll keep that truck up there as, what happened? Did he blow the motor? Man, tough break for Mark Vondel here. Trying to figure out exactly what happened. We'll go back to the front here in just a moment, as I just want to make sure that Mark didn't blow his motor, so either missed a shift or got punted from out back. Nonetheless, though, look at the inside. Gone. It's all the top lane with the momentum right now. Kyler Wynn, Ken McCullough Jr. trying to pull clear, but it's just going to be Kyler that gets it. He drops to the inside, and now here comes Cody Nagels with teammate Alex Hill on the top. As they work off at turn number 4, they'll see 4 laps to go. Remember, these guys have to make it all the way to the white flag for the race to be official, so still a long ways to go. Steven Miles now jumps to the middle, at a line from pushing Kyler Wynn, and he wants to try to go to the point. Will the third have enough to get clear? Kyler tries to go to the top right as he blinks. Oh my goodness, that had to be hard stopping right there for Steven Miles, as he couldn't see the 82 for a second. Now the third lane trying to pinch and side draft for all it's worth. Alex Hill still tandem up on Nagels, but by Kyler jumping up, that third lane was not able to get clear. Head out on the bottom though now, trying to lead this race. Cody Reed starting to fade though. Kyler Wynn refuses to go down. He wants to hold Nagels to the top as they work into 3, and he'll do just that. Steven Miles, Ken McCullough Jr. trying to get clear to the bottom. Will either one of them choose to jump down? Ken not going to have the opportunity. Steven still does, but he won't go. Watch out, trouble out back. They're trying to save it. They won't do so. Jared Haynes around, up and over. Goes to 7 as he's able to gather it back up. Truck lands back on all 4, and he collects the 22 of, Quentin Steinbach in the process. Brings out now your 4th caution of the night with 3 laps to go. And that means that we are headed to overtime. Jared Haynes, even though that truck got up in the air, was able to land back on all 4 without ever actually barrel rolling. And so that truck going to stay a lot cleaner than it would have been, depending on if the circumstances would have been just a little bit different. Let's go back and look at it here and see how it unfolds for Jared Haynes. As they're coming out of the corner, this actually doesn't start with Jared. It starts further up front here, right around Trevor Osronoff and company. You see the 89. We'll go first to the TV3 view. As I work through the corner, it's a brief checkup up top. That's exactly what it is here. Does Alex Hill blow the motor? Let's see. He does. Alex Hill goes kaboom in the pack, and they're running so tight, nowhere for Trevor to go at that point. And as he gets into the back of Alex Hill, that checkup causes him to go down the track. That checkup also translates out back to Chris Walker, Jared Haynes, and Quentin Steinbach. And those are the 2 that get the worst of this. You see immediately those trucks start to catch air, almost synchronized the way that they just flipped. Watch this. And we'll go back to the blow-up for Alex Hill in just a moment. Watch, these 2 trucks lift up almost at the exact same time. You get to see the underbody of both before they eventually land on the side and then roll back over onto all 4. So again, not a lot of damage for those 2. Certainly could have been a lot worse. And then Steinbach netcodes right through there at the last second. So no extra hits there either. Now let's go back to the onboard here for Alex Hill. As again, he blew his motor right here. And so that was ultimately the truck that sparked this incident, if you will. Now Alex does have that fast spare, so if he was able to at least limp it to the pits or just get to the pits anyhow, can take that fast spare and get back out. But he's pushing for all it's worth here. He almost had Cody clear, trying everything he can, but then as he gets into the corner right here, listen, and kaboom, there goes the motor. That hot track temp finally took its toll to bring out what is ultimately now your 4th caution of the night. And so a 3-truck incident in total is what sends us to this first overtime attempt. Up front, though, you've got Kyler Wynn still leading the race. Has been dominant in the back half of this race. Cody Reed 2nd, Stephen Miles 3rd, and how about this man right here, Garrett Caswell, now finds himself up almost 20 positions from where he started this race at, currently running in that 4th spot. Cody Nagels rounding out your top 5, and then one of the Money Racing veterans, Ken McCullough Jr. back in 6th, Sterling Thess 7th, Joey Allen 8th, Trevor Osronoff in 9th. Ben Summerford also having a great run, up 16 spots from where he started this race at, currently finds himself in 10th. So we'll go back green, and I'll remind you the overtime rules here once we get the one to go. But chaos has already started to unfold, and it's just going to get worse at this point. But I'm curious as to how some of the drivers in the top 10 must be feeling right about now. Ken McCullough Jr. going to be sitting in that 4th spot. Let's see how he's feeling here getting ready for this restart. Hey, Ken, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Got you, buddy.
Well, we're getting ready to go green for the first overtime attempt, and got to wonder how you're feeling right now. I mean, these trucks on a really hot track have been kind of interesting to watch here tonight. What do you think is going to be the winning move here?
I don't know, man. I think all I can do being on the bottom here is just try to help that bottom lane go forward. Maybe whoever's leading it clear, and if I get an opening to move up, I definitely will. But I think my best chances of cashing here is to stay on the bottom and just push like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we just saw one of the fellow competitors out on the track blow their motor, and I'm curious, with the track temp this hot, has it been much harder than usual tonight to try to manage those engine temps?
It has, but to me, it seems that made that 3rd lane a little better. You could time it just right and get a good run up there. But yeah, the temps has been a little rough to get cooled down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Ken, we appreciate you talking to us. You're in a good spot here. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see if we're talking to you again here in a few laps.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
All right, there you go. Ken McCullough Jr. currently in that 5th spot. We thought he was going to be scored in 4th, but actually a position further back than that. Nonetheless, though, 3 laps to go. It'll be 2 to go for the restart. And again, we'll remind you of those overtime rules. Leader has to take the white flag before this race will be deemed official. So if we can stay green for this first lap, then this race will be official as soon as the white flag is in the air. And if they wreck after that point, it will not matter. Now, on the flip side of that, if we get a caution here in this first lap, then what that means is we'll rack them up and try it again. We have, I believe, again, 3 total attempts at a green-white checkered. Cody Reed, big opportunity here on the outside, up 11 spots from where he started this race at. I don't think he's ever won an MMS race, and this is a big series to win in. If you get the job done here, you can pretty much call yourself a big dog. And Cody Reed going to be trying to do that here tonight. He's got a good pusher, a few of them actually, but it's really going to be about, does Nagel stay committed or does he jump up to that 3rd? And if he does jump up to the 3rd, how quick does he do so? If he waits a little bit, that top may have a chance. If he does it pretty early, I think that top's going to fade. And obviously Kyler Wynn here going to do everything he can to try to control these front 2 lanes, front 2 trucks, if you will, for these 2 laps. All right, 55 laps. And how about a little bonus coverage? Because we're going into overtime here at Talladega. Kyler Wynn trying to cash in, up 17 spots from where he started tonight. Can he get the job done? Can Cody Reed grab his first win in the MMS Money Racing Series? Let's find out. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps remaining at Talladega. Good restart up front. A couple of checkups, though, further back. In fact, one truck had to jump out of line. The 32 of Ben Summerford had to get out of the way, but up front, it's all the bottom right now. Kyler Wynn and Stephen Miles got the better jump. Nagels quickly jumped down to the bottom. This may give Ken McCullough Jr. and a few others a chance to try to make something happen here if they can get clear to jump to the top. And they haven't been able to do so yet. Cody Reed continues to stay on the point. He's got the 17 pushing, but they need some more help. Further back, McCullough and Galati split back low. Trevor Osranoff now going to jump up to the 3rd spot on that top lane. As they work through 3 and 4, Kyler Wynn still feeling very comfortable on the bottom, but Steven Miles jumps out of line. He moves up top. That pushes Ken McCullough Jr. up another spot now. Trouble out back. Are they going to hold on? No. Huge hits out back. Will this draw the caution? Yes, it does. As they wreck coming across the tri-oval. Big hit right there at the end for Christopher McCullough. Sean Corbett's in it. Cameron Hackett. Looks like he's going to maybe escape. Corbett going to take it to the pits. Christopher McCullough looks like his night might be done. Matt Lee, I don't think he was involved, but we had a lot of trucks collected in this one. It looked like it all started with the 23 of Chris Walker. And for Walker here, it looks like he does have quite a bit of damage, but was able to at least get that truck going again. And so we will get even more coverage now as we're going to head into our 2nd overtime attempt. Let's go back and see what sparked this one here. They almost made it to the white flag, but just couldn't quite get there. And let's go to the chopper view first. And by this point, obviously, everybody up to full pace. So there's a lot of pushing and shoving. And you see on the bottom here, the 23 of Chris Walker getting ready to receive a push right here from, can't tell exactly who that is from this view. So we'll see if we can zoom things in and exactly that was. But, oh, that's actually going to be the 010 machine. And again, still trying to figure out exactly who that was. I'll see if I can get you that here after we look at what caused the wreck. But back up the track, and it all starts with just kind of a little bit of an offset to the left push as we're coming off the corner. And at this point, I mean, they're in an okay spot. And in fact, let's back this up even more. So the 010 there, that's Hibbler. And you see, they're pretty lined up at this time. And in fact, they're lined up enough where you could push at that point in the corner with no issues. And I'm going to switch things here to an aerial view. Watch as they come out of the corner. And I'll play this full speed. Watch the 010. He gets all set to the left. And right there, just gets Chris Walker a little bit loose. In fact, he first gets him offset right. And does he get him up the track a little bit? Maybe just a little bit. And then as he comes back down, at that point, he's got Walker loose. I almost wonder if that damage that Walker had in the back contributed to that a little bit. Because, boy, if the 010 was hitting his rear bumper, it was not by much. I mean, it was slight contact. But then they both go back up the racetrack into the outside wall, turned around up in the air. And then big hits here for Corbett. Looks like Quentin Steinbach as well with nowhere to go. And then further up, you saw Christopher McCullough, unfortunately, getting clipped as he was trying to go to the inside here to miss this. And that gave him even more damage than what he would have had here. In fact, he may not have had any damage. You see him go to the inside. Thinks he's okay, and then just barely gets clipped. And that's a big hit into the outside wall, too. Man, that's a tough break for Christopher McCullough, too. He should have gotten through that. He did everything right. But just, fortunately, the way it goes sometimes, the nature of the beast. Let's go watch this one or two more times here. As you see Chris, this is going to be his incident in the back. And right there, actually, as the 010 was coming back down the racetrack, you see the 04 big hit up top. So that's pretty much going to end his night, I would have to believe. Now for Chris Hibbler, obviously, he had been having a decent night up to this point, but I want to watch this one more time here. We'll go first here, see if we can get an angle of this from the pit lane cam. And watch it here for Hibbler. There's the hit up top. See those two trucks start to lift, and Corbett, the other truck that took a pretty big hit. Steinbach as well right there, piling in right at the end of this one. So this will be, I think, officially your 5th caution here of the night. And sends us again into our 2nd overtime. So as we go back live, Jimmy Crow says, I hate yellows in the back end of a race. And yeah, I agree, Jimmy. Sometimes that's the way, though, unfortunately, these things go. As everybody knows that the pay window's open. When you're in the back, you get a little bit more desperate because you know that you don't have a lot of time to get to the front. Start trying to push that envelope just a little bit more. And unfortunately, these kind of things can happen. Nonetheless, the lights on the pace car are going to go, looks like off this time. Sure enough, they do. So we will now stack them up here for, again, our 2nd attempt at overtime. It looks like this time Kyler Wynn chose the top. So I got to assume that he's going to try to stay on that top until that inside gets some momentum, and then he'll jump down. But Cody Reed, plenty good enough pusher to keep this outside line rolling. So we'll have to see what Kyler Wynn decides to do right here. A lot of opportunity still for a few drivers to grab a win tonight that are looking for their first win. 25 of Cody Reed, 17 of Garrett Caswell. He may have a win before an MMS. And obviously you've got Steven Miles and Kyler Wynn, two of the veterans, trying to grab their, not first win, but one of many here tonight. By the way, if you're just tuning in again, we appreciate you joining us. And if you're hanging around, stick with us just a little bit longer. We're almost to the end of this one, as it will officially again be a 2-lap shootout to decide it here at Talladega. Leaders got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And if not, I believe we have one more attempt at a green, white, checkered. Don't forget, winner here tonight going to be taking home $175, and the payouts go all the way back through at least 6th. A couple of extra prizes on the line here tonight as the field was a little bit bigger than initially intended. And that is certainly always a good thing. By the way, these guys will be back tomorrow night. Actually, they may be taking Easter off, so I'm going to take that back. But normally they'd be live on Sundays for the Big Dog, Little Dog series. And then Monday night, PGR eSports will be back with the PGR Light series. So make sure you tune in or join us for that one. A lot of big events coming up for Money Racing, and looking forward to it. All right, here we go. The iRacing.com pace car pulls off potentially for the final time. Who is going to get the job done? Kyler Wynn, Steven Miles, Ken McCullough Jr., Cody Reed. That is your top 4. And here we go. Back into the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps to go. Overtime attempt number 2 as they already start to stack up on the outside further back. But up front, Kyler Wynn did exactly what he wanted to. Time the restart, got a jump, and immediately jumped down in front of the 24 of Steven Miles. The inside, just like it did on the last restart, shows much more organization right here. And will Steven Miles jump up? Now's his opportunity. Cody Reed trying to get a little bit of a roll back on the outside, but still no momentum yet. Watch for the pink and white 24 to jump up here as they get towards turn 3. Nothing doing just yet. Further back, seems like at the moment everybody is able to keep themselves in check. Third lane trying to develop. Ken McCullough Jr. got shot off there just for a moment. And now that stalls the inside out just briefly. Here comes the 25 of Cody Reed. Steven Miles going to jump up to the top of the racetrack. Here we go as they come into the tri-oval. They're going to see the white flag. Race is official. 1 lap to go at Talladega. Kyler Wynn versus Steven Miles. Who is going to get back to the checkered flag first? Oh man, the 17, Garrett Caswell with a bold move. He jumps out to the 3rd lane. Ken McCullough Jr. still trying to hang on. All the lanes getting squirrely now as they work off at turn 2. Ken McCullough Jr. pushing for all he's worth right now in the back bumper of Kyler Wynn in the middle. Starts to roll, but it's the top that's got all the momentum in the world right now as they work their way down the Alabama gang backstretch for the final time. 4 wide out, back in as they get into turn 3. The 17 of Caswell gets clear to the middle. Now Miles is going to try to give him a push. Here we go. Final pushes off of turn 4. Ken's getting pushed out of line. He's trying to hold on. He does. He'll give Kyler another push. This could be a drag race. Photo finish even all the way back to the start-finish line. The middle has the advantage. Caswell trying to hold on. Here comes Kyler back on the bottom. It's going to be Garrett Caswell takes it at the start-finish line by 1/100th of a second. Oh my goodness, what a finish. Couldn't even call it coming to the line. It was too close, and I thought for sure the bottom was going to get it because Kyler had all the momentum behind him. But Caswell hangs on. Oh my goodness, what a sequence of moves for Garrett Caswell to get himself up in that 3rd line, get clear to the middle, and then ultimately hold on. Steven Miles jetted out of line too at the last second, and it didn't even matter. Caswell was still able to hold on. Official scoring showing 100th of a second. I take that back, actually. Official scoring is showing even less than 100th of a second. So we're going to have to automatically go back and look at that finish. Oh my goodness. So it looks like Caswell not going to bring it around, at least at the moment, for any burnouts. And that immediately gives us a chance to go back here and watch just how close this finish was here. Coming to the checkered, Steven Miles pushing for all he's worth, but he's going to jump out. Ken McCullough Jr. still lined up, still lined up, still lined up. And actually, there was a little bit of momentum coming from out back, right where the 25 was running. But even so, you can see the 25 splits him 4 wide. So I thought for sure Kyler would get back here. And if, I don't know, we have another 50 feet, Kyler probably does. 4 wide finish 2. Didn't even note that because we were so focused on who was going to get the win between those front 2. We'll play this again here frame by frame from our photo finish cam and a few other angles before we go back live. And look at your final results here. This is what it was like from the drone cam, which is a little bit too far back, so we're not going to actually show you that one. All right, TV2. I mean, man, this does not get much closer. And here we go. All right, so this is the photo finish cam. This is what I was looking for. And we'll play that slow, reset the cam. And that's how close it was. I mean, he gets it by maybe half a front bumper at most. The distance that Caswell wins it by, that is unbelievable. And watch this one more time here from the zoomed in view, and they immediately wreck as they cross the line. This is just how close it was. Look at Kyler starting to get that run back on the bottom, but just barely runs out of time. They're 4 wide, beating and banging to the checkered flag. All right, taking a look at your final results as Caswell is now burning it down here on the front stretch. He is your official race winner. Grabs the win by a margin of 1/1000th of a second over Kyler Wynn, who takes second. And then Cody Reed rounding out the podium tonight. He finishes third. Stephen Miles back in fourth, with Ken McCullough Jr. rounding out the top 5. Trevor Oswald finishes back in 6th. Richard Elliott 7th, with Cody Nagels 8th. Alex Hill in 9th. And Jared Haynes rounding out your top 10. Joshua McCullough finishes in 11th. Nick Seipel 12th. Joey Galati 13th, with Asher Little in 14th. Mark Vondell finishes back in 15th. It's Freddie Vosnes in 16th. Quentin Steinbach 17th, with Sterling Fess in 18th. And rounding out your top 20 here tonight in 19th is Michael Barksdale and Chris Walker in 20th. 21st is Ben Summerford with, Joey Allen in 22nd. James Wagner 23rd. Cameron Hackett 24th. Matt Lee 25th. Nathan Harper finishes in 26th. It's going to be Chris Hibbler 27th. Christopher McCullough finishes in 28th. Sean Corbett 29th. And Art Greco rounding out your top 30. Chris Melton finishes 31st. Steve Wayne 32nd. Nolan Milnes finishes 33rd. Brian Hennings, Hunter Hastings, and Ambrose Kniebel, I don't believe ended up actually starting in the field. So it ended up being a 33-truck finishing result. All right, let's go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, and we're going to go ahead and kick things off first here tonight with your race winner, number 17, Garrett Caswell. Garrett, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you win the race tonight, and man, the path you took to doing it was unbelievable at the end. Break us down some of the moves you make. You decide to jump out of line while you were third on the outside, take a risk on the third lane. It pays off. What was going through your head there at the end?
I don't know. I was just shooting for a money spot, to be honest. I going into one, I saw the top rolling. I just decided to go for it. I said, why not? It was a crazy night anyways. I would have been happy if I finished in one piece. So I did that, and then probably should have stayed up, but I went 2 and had no momentum to the tri-oval, but somehow beat Kyler and the rest of the guys for a 4 wide photo finish the line.
Yeah, it was a very exciting finish at that. And, Garrett, I don't broadcast MMS Money Racing a lot. I thought I heard that you got a win in this series before, but either way, it's still a big series nonetheless. Always feels good to get a win here. How does this kind of help your momentum going forward?
Second MMS win. This one is really exciting. There's a lot of familiar faces out there, a lot of very good drivers. Had some really good guys to work with. Unfortunately, they got caught up in some mess, but just carrying this momentum over, not just other super speedway money races, but also a lot of other big money races just in general. It's just going to help a lot.
Absolutely. Well, Garrett, big win for you here tonight. So before we let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, GTCR Motorsports, everyone back at GTCR Motorsports, T&J Bar and Grill, GEC, NASCAR Broadcasting, Mad Charity, and yeah, my mama and Jeff. I appreciate y'all a lot. Love y'all. Mama, Dad, Jesus, Happy Easter.
Absolutely. And Garrett, thank you for talking to us. Hey, congrats again on the win, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, the Canadian driver, Kyler Wynn. Kyler, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you finished third on Thursday. You finished second here tonight in MMS. And, man, you were a dominant truck here tonight, but I thought you were going to get him coming back to the start-finish line. What more do you think you needed right there?
Yeah. Shoot, I don't know, man. Not much, to be honest. Like, I don't think I did anything wrong. Kenny was giving me some amazing pushes there. But ultimately, the middle lane just had way too much momentum. I thought about a block, but in the moment, I just figured it wasn't worth it. And honestly, I thought I was going to win the race either way. But that middle lane, man, had some momentum before. I did not expect that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, one of the things that we kind of saw tonight was trucks a little bit squirrely all over the place, and the track temp was almost 140 degrees. And I'm curious, how did it feel up there? You had a chance to obviously lead and be in the pack. Did you notice any major differences, and did you feel like the hot track temp allowed you to make some more moves?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think it made it way more fun. I enjoy that race a lot. Typically on a colder track, 120 or lower, we don't see a third lane on the last two laps. When we get a green red checker, it's typically just two lanes. The third lane though was rolling. Like they got a car clear, and that car won the race. I think who was that? Garrett? Yeah, he won the race for going 3. That move I wouldn't make there because I wouldn't believe in the third lane. But it rolled, man. So I respect to Garrett. I don't think I've ever seen him in any of these races, but he's solid. But either way, it was a great race. I enjoyed it. Working with Miles there at the end. Looking back at it, we reviewed it. In hindsight, there's not much else we could have done other than drag brakes. We don't drag brakes. We don't believe in that. But we did all we could. We got second and fourth. We'll take that.
Yeah, still a good finish, and obviously going to take home a pretty good chunk of change here tonight. So, Kyler, before we let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, factory steps on the truck. Miles and Freddie tonight for joining me. And you for broadcasting. Great job.
Kyler, thank you.
And Kenny for putting these on. I'm very grateful for these events. I've been saying this for a while now. MMS hosts some of the best racing out of all the money racing.
Indeed, and tonight was no exception. Well, Kyler, thank you for talking to us. Again, congrats on the second place finish, and we will see you hopefully next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your final podium finisher here on the night, the number 25 machine, Cody Reed. Cody, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you take home that third spot here tonight. A great finish for you. And, man, on that final restart, you were lined up in a position where you had a great shot at it. Tell us a little bit about your night and your finish right there.
Yeah, so I got involved in like the second or third big wreck, and thought I was killed. Went down pit road, I didn't have a meatball, so I was going to see, if I would need to use a fast repair or not. And turns out I only had like 30 seconds of damage, so I was blessed by netcode or something during the wreck that kept my damage low, which is pretty nice. So I kind of just ran like 20th all race after that. Got pretty lucky here and there with like smaller wrecks kind of happening around me that didn't really bring out cautions. And I don't know, just kind of put myself in place at the end. I stayed out when like kind of half the field split, because I knew that I would be able to make it to at least one green white checkered, and probably not 2, but it ended up, since we got a caution pretty early on that green white checkered, I could barely make it to 2 green white checkers. I would not have been able to make it another one, so I got pretty lucky with that. But I don't know. I was hoping to maybe win this one. I feel like on restarts I would have a pretty good restart, and then the car behind me would be like 10 car lengths back going into turn 1. So I'd just be like hung out to dry. But I hung on for a pretty good finish. So I'm pretty happy. It's my second one of these McCullough money races. and second time I've finished in the money position. So I think I just need to keep doing these.
Absolutely. Well, Cody, a great run for you here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd like to just, thank McCullough and everybody putting these races on. I'd like to thank everybody for keeping it mostly clean through the trial, and I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great show. That's about it.
Cody, thank you for talking to us. Again, congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you hopefully next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, there you go. That is going to wrap up our coverage and interviews here tonight from Talladega Superspeedway. What a race. More importantly, what a finish and what a win for Garrett Caswell. MMS Money Racing did not disappoint here tonight. These guys put on a great showing, and always fun to watch these guys go at it. By the way, again, happy Easter to everybody watching. Hope that you have a good Sunday tomorrow. And well, with that, that's pretty much it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. As always, I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, have a good night.